Alright, so this is a letter that was sent to dealers back in 2000 for Maicos, saying they had in stock 1983 490 Sandspider 5-speed, which is the Type D gear sets. And so I have a whole binder full of dealer information, including the whole spare parts list. And so some of it is on my website, and you can go there and see everything there. But so as you can see, this is the 1983 Sandspider gearing, and it's the 5-speed. And on here now we have, this is the from the manual itself. This is the 5-speed 250, and then you can see below there is the FL and FK gearing. The FK gearing is a bit more rare. You never see those around, really. It's also, I believe, one of the first ones that came out, and it's slower. As you look at the top speed, the higher gears were changed in the FL to make it more, give it more top end speed, and that's the main difference between the two. One more thing to take a note is the labeling: C, CD, F, FL, FK. So C means it's for the C gear set, but if it's CD, that means both C and D gear sets would have that same gear. Typically, that's what that means. And so same with FK. As you can see, all the Fs are the same, but FL, FK are the ones that are switched between the gear sets. In 1984, they got rid of the 4-speeds and they went to 5-speeds. They have E for Enduro gearing, and this is the Enduro gearing list you can see here for 1984. And then after that, we have the X gearing, which is for MX. And this is the 5-speed MX gearing for 1984. One last quick note about the 1984 gearing is that not only did it switch the 5-speed, but if you look at the E gearing, it's actually exactly the same as the Sandspider gearing, the 5-speed from 1983. So the gear ratios for the Enduro are the same as the Sandspider. The difference, though, is with the XE gearing is that, or the E gearing is that, and even the X gearing is that in 1984 they switched to putting roller bearings on all the gears that were on the shaft and were spinning freely on the shaft, not the ones that were stuck to the shaft, obviously. Whereas in 1983 they didn't spin on roller bearings, and so that's one of the big differences that came out in 1984. In 1985-86, they had the H gearing. So the H gearing is more MX gearing, and as you can see here, this is the new ratios. And then this is actually the brand new Maico. So if you buy a brand new Maico, it has even different gearing these days. They've made it even higher ratios. And then the last note here is that the primary drive. So in 1983, the primary drive was a lot, the ratio was a lot higher, so it was a lot slower, but they decreased the ratio to make it faster around 1985. And so that's why the primary drive gearing ratio has changed. Are the 1983 transmissions bad? Well, if you're asking that question, you probably read Rick Siemens Super Hunky's article, What Killed Maico? And in that he had was going to buy Maico, and he had access to internal documents where he says he found memos and things that they'd only given 1 heat treatment instead of 2, which caused engines to fail. Now, for a while, I had taken this at this word, but then I had recently started to question it because if this was all true, I should be able to find more evidence of this. For example, if I talked to dealers back in the day, they should be able to say, yes, we have a lot of problems. But I talked to dealers back in the day, I talked to people who raced back in the day, and no one remembers this as being a problem. So, the second thing was, racer Dion Scott, according to the article, says that he was paralyzed. So obviously I should be able to find information on this if he sued Maico, which is what Super Hunky claimed in the article. I couldn't find information on this either. The only thing I could find was a 1982 roster that said there was a guy named David Scott from West Virginia who was in motocross. That's it. So I did some more digging, and I was able to find 2 pieces of evidence that could lead some light onto this. The first one is from 1984, February 29th, Cycle News. In this article, it states here, but even worse, the 1983 transmissions malfunctioned. The gears required special steel alloy and elaborate two-stage heat treating. All this went awry, and so did the customers. By late 1983, Maico had twice been to the point of bankruptcy. Furthermore, William H. Jr., later in the article, also who was the engineer and director of production, he said, "I am convinced that the gearbox problems are over for a lot of reasons, but basically because of the new design of the gearbox. Our new American distributor, Ted Lapidus, had to ask a lot of hard questions before coming involved with us. If I were in his place, I would have asked the same questions. So we tested the components at the University of Stuttgart, and he was satisfied." So, as you can see, there is a period-appropriate news article that does have some credibility to saying that it is possible that these were possibly sabotaged, or at least that they did have a gearbox problem in 1983. And this here is the second source. This is the Maico Writers Club sheet number 6 from 1991. And it just says that in 1983, Maico bankruptcy by bad politics, poor quality, and poor sales results. According to the then director Odo Mahish, at age 80, this came at the hands of his nephews Wilhelm, Hans, and Peter to gain control of the company for cheap. And in 1984, the city was set in motion for Maico and this and that. And so that's pretty much the other source that I have is a reference Otto himself claiming that his nephews, but not specifically what they did, just in reference that his nephews are the ones that had initiated this procedure to go to the bankruptcy so they could acquire the company.
Alright, so here is a C gear set. This is from 1983, and you can see there's a C on it right there. Yeah, turn the light here. So yeah, you can see there's a C right there, right? So this is a C gear set, 1983, and this is one that's grenaded. As you can see, that's pretty bad shape. The main thing on this is, I mean, it's completely got grenaded right there. Let's see, you can see that there's some broke stuff there. So this is one that someone has sent me. It's not one that I rode and broke or anything like that. Just in case I could use it for something, they sent it to me. Trying to see on here if I can find part of the piece that's broken. Here it is. Here it is. This one. So as you can see, this one here really grenaded. That's a CD1. This is a 250 engine. You can see CD1, and it's grenaded. Broke. I'm not sure how it broke. I mean, it could be one of the bad transmissions, maybe not. There's another 250 from a later model. It's an XE though. You can see on here it says XE right there. There's also a 250 though. So this is X on that transmission. X, which means MX. So this shaft here is the same between X and XE. This shaft is motocross because it has an X on it. And if I do that gear right there, look at that gear is actually a 16. So this here is a good transmission. Now I have an 83 right here, and it used to have a 4-speed in it, but I changed it to an XE gear set from 1984. Gear set did fit in there. One of the other things to note is that if you're considering that, well, I have a 1983 engine, should I not keep that transmission? Well, here's the thing. So if that bike has been in use for 30 years, chances are it's probably okay. It's not going to grenade. Now, if you do switch to the newer transmission, you do get the benefit of the roller bearings on the shaft instead of these not the roller bearings, but the needle bearings like this, needle bearings that'll actually sit inside the gear, versus them just spinning on the shaft without needle bearings. And that's one of the main benefits of going to the later models. Also, if the bike hasn't been running and you're not sure if people have been using it, instead of waiting for a grenade, you could just switch to a newer gear set. Now, I will say this, that not like this one here says H5, right? This one here says H5 on it. You can see. See if I can get to this show there. So this one here says H5. And then I have one here that says D on it. So that's misleading, because this actually isn't a D transmission. This is actually motocross. And in fact, this gear here is 16 tooth. So why does it say D on it? Well, because it's from 1996, and they had D. They usually put the first letter, or the first couple of letters of the transmission onto the gearing, or the motor serial number. And this is 1996, is D on it. So they put D on the shaft, but it's not an actual 1983 D. So now the next question is, can a 1983 engine, or can a newer Maico engine fit into? So one thing I want to show you here is that these gears here, as you can see here, will the newer ones fit in there? Well, if I look at these gears here, look, this is 1983 4-speed. Look how it's a tiny bit less. Tiny bit less. It's not even. They're not even together. See? Like those two are. So it's an 86 and a 96, but the 83 isn't. So now I have put an XE gear set in there. I don't know what year it's from. So we're going to do a little experiment here, and we're going to try to put, see what that difference is and how that works out. One other thing I want to show you though is I do have another motor in here. It is called, it has a D on it, but the engine has a hole in it for some reason. I'm not sure why, but it looks like someone drilled a hole in it. I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if it's any good, but it does say D on it, which means this could be sand spider gearing. But I don't have any plans to take it apart yet, running yet. So this here is the one we can take a look at. This is another 1983 sand spider, or not sand spider, but 1983 spider FL gearing, as you can see here. And what I will do is, this has all new bearings in it, so we'll just put the other transmission in, the newer one, and see if there's space to play. If you notice that this gear here has the space for the shifting fork on this side. On this gear, it's on the opposite side. The shifting fork is this one here. It has a knob there for this one. You can see that there. Now, I just got this shifting fork, which is the same thing, except the knob's on the opposite side. As you can see, I put in here. See if I try to line up these gears. If I put this shifting fork in 83 and this shifting fork it's supposed to go this way. They're on opposite sides. These line up. Okay, so here we have two 1983s and one 1996. And as you can see, as I mentioned before, they changed the gearing, so it's actually bigger. And so whenever I wanted to say, I was going to try to use a 1983 in my 96 or 86 to load the gearing. And if you look at these, they look like they're the same. By eye, kind of. But they're not. So let's measure one of these. This gear, the width is 1329. 13.20. Well, it's not exactly a millimeter less, but it is significantly less. It's about half a millimeter less, I guess. So that's why when you put this one in, it just hits against the case, because the case they made thinner, made closer to here, so you can't use these ones on the newer ones. So, as I said, we do have this 1983 Maico 490 that we're going to test out these gears. Actually, I even have this set of gears in here too. This is from 2004 Maico. I even have the Enduro version for it, but it's pretty much going to be the same as the 86 anyways. As you can see, it pretty much matches there, the 86. So I'm expecting the same result there. And so if you put these on this end, they should touch, see? So they touch. So they're the same. But if you take this, which is the 83 4-speed, and do like this, you can see the top does not touch. So they're different. So what I've believed that I have pieced together is essentially this, that 1983 and 1984 transmissions are the same width, same size, and interchangeable. What I put in there is an E gear set probably from 1984. And then this one here that I have, which someone sent me, they told me it was an 86. However, I don't think so, because it has X on it instead of H, and it matches the same size as the 83. If you take the 83 and put them on there, they both match up, see? So I believe that everything from the transmission and the crank gears are interchangeable between 83 and 84, but 85 and beyond is the same. So you can't put an 85 back at 83 or 84. Plus in 85, they also changed the layout of where the bolts are. You see there's two bolts here, and they're lined up differently on that engine than they are in this engine. So we're going to give it a quick test here and see which one of these fit, which one of these don't. And again, you can't always stress what the labeling is, because they can label them anything. The newer gears aren't even labeled anything. There's nothing on those ones. The older one, like I said, this one says D on it, but it's not a D. It's actually from a 96. So it's not a real 83D. So yeah. So we'll start out with putting on this is a 1984 really X gear. I was told from a 250, but it really could be for 490, you know. But again, it's the motocross version. So we're gonna give this a try. So it's together. So this X gear set, which I believe was 1984, fits in there perfectly. No problem. Alright, let's try So we know the 1983 will fit in there, of course. Don't worry about it. And this is 96. So it's the same as the H. So we'll just try the H, and I'll see. That should be representative of all the newer ones. Let's try the H. Okay, I cannot close it, and it's all the way tight. And I can't close these cases at all. They wobble on there. So it does not fit. This 86 does not fit the 83. So my conclusion is I put an 84 in here. And if you can get an 84 to put in your 83, it is going to be a better transmission. Just because even if you don't believe in the gears exploding, they run on needle bearings, which is going to be a lot better. So as you can see, 85 and above does not fit in 83. So, but 85 and above will work in 85 and above. So this one will work even in the new one. So that mystery has been solved. Alright, so last thing is, how do you put these gears together? Well, the first thing is to figure out what the ordering is. So the smaller gear on this side with the bigger gear on this side. The smaller they get on this side, the higher the gear. The bigger they get on this side, the higher the gear, and the opposite. So this is first. This is the one that's onto the clutch. And then the opposite side, this is the rear sprocket, this is second. Then you can see that this one's third, fourth, fifth. So 1, 5, 3, 4, 2. That's the gears. And so how you put them together and how they go together is really very simple. Some of them spin on roller bearings, the other ones are going to move back and forth, and otherwise you have clamps in there. Now the best thing to do when you put these gears together is to go to this diagram, count your gears, put them on which shaft they go to. This diagram, even if you read it, you can see the side that the shifting fork goes in and how the side faces. And you can lay them out. You can lay them out like that, and it shows you where there's everything about it, where there's the washers, where there's spacers, and where there's the clamps. So this is what you want to use, and these are on my website. So if you go to my website and then you go to Maico manuals, you go to spares for the appropriate year, and you'll be able to follow these diagrams and be able to put these together. It should be fairly straightforward. That's what I would say. So depending on what year you have, I would look at those gears and put them on like that. And as I showed you, you can see first, second, third, fourth, and the order and they go on. And the best video that I have up to look at on this is the 1986 rebuild. In that video I do have, I think it's better than my 96 rebuild, where I actually show you how I went through, where I actually go through these bearing or the gears and put them on. And so definitely, if you want to see more, I would go to that video. That should have everything you need to put these gears together. And so, and like I said, lay all the parts out, lay out the diagram for the year, count the gears, put them in the order, and sort through and get these parts in order first. and you have to get the clips because Maicos, except for the 4-speeds, I don't think the 4-speeds use it, but the other years all have clips, circlips. So
if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also subscribe to my channel for more dirt biking videos like this one. And don't forget, you can leave me a comment below. Thanks for watching.